Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you a very special video. Looks like we have a new FTK in the format, and that is courtesy of several people. First off, we have Tristan, is it Pug or Pug? I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly.
Pug.
Pug. Okay, so Tristan Pug, who just got first place at LCS4, and we also have Gabriel Netz, who got top 4 in the same tournament. Both players were piloting the same deck, and that is the Dragon Link FTK. I don't know what we're going to call this FTK, but nonetheless, I'm going to let them introduce themselves and promote their channel so you guys can check them out over on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Tristan. So I won the event, obviously. I'm on FCG, so check out all their YouTubes, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
Hi, I'm Gabriel. I'm the Disciples. If you guys can check out the video, should have a combo video later in the week with like more in-depth combos. It should be linked in the description somewhere.
Yep, I will have all the links for you guys down in the description so you guys can check them out. So what I want to do first, before we get to this deck profile, I want to go ahead and just quick fire through the combo to explain how this FTK works. So either one of you just want to go ahead and just talk about, it looks like in the combo video here, we just have a Starleech Ciphered and any card as a discard. You just want to go ahead and take it away?
Yeah. Gabriel gets through it.
Oh yeah, I can do it. So, I mean, it's using Ciphered, but it's basically like any 2 dragons. So it could be like Black Metal Dragon or anything. So you make Starleech Ciphered, normal Ciphered, you get your Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon gets the Boot Sector, you summon the other Chaos Dragon, you get your Romulus. And I think on Romulus is where things get a bit different. Because we are playing Dragonid Divine Lance, which is a card that not any of the other Dragon Link decks are top to play. It basically turns Romulus into Needle Fiber because you're summoning a level 2 tuner from the deck. And then that level 2 tuner you can use with Link Cross to make the Herald. Sorry, to make the Martial Metal Marcher, that then is going to make the Herald, which means that when you're actually doing your combo, you're protected from all hand traps. So after doing that, you basically want to get your Hockey Fibrex and get Guard Dragon Arrows, which is going to be LP and Striker Dragon. And then your goal is to get your Guardian Rose Maiden, which you usually do, at least in this replay, by summoning Bro Tower that's getting Tracer. So then after you can link LP and the Striker Dragon into the Lingerus, you can use the Boot Sector to summon the Tracer from the hand and make the Guardian Rose Maiden, which is going to get a Black Garden, which is going to be how you do the first 4K of the combo. So you activate the Black Garden, you make Union Care here, and then that gives them a token. The Guardian Rose Maiden banishes to summon the one of the red roses, the Rose Dragons from the grave. That's another token. Then you can make Pisty, and now Pisty is pointing to the Fiber Arrow, which means you can revive the Tracer. Then you can make Borrow Sword. And then you can here equip Pisco to any of their dark monsters. It doesn't really matter. And then you can Tracer summon the Explode Rocket. And Explode Rocket, when Borrow Sword targets it, is going to deal 2k damage. And on the end phase, since it was destroyed, it's going to summon another Tracer that can summon another Explode Rocket during your opponent's turn. So in this replay, we're using Tracer on your opponent's turn to pop the Pisco, because that's 5 tokens with only those 2 cards. But most of the time, you actually manage to get Pisco popping during your own turn, depending if you have like a discard, you can do Quad Borrow Dragon, or if you have like any extender, it's the extra summon for the 5th token. But assuming you don't, during your opponent's turn, Tracer pops the Pisco, it summons the second Exploder Rocket, that gives them 5 tokens, Pisco wipes them all, so they take 4k. Then the 2k they already took from the Explode Rocket, and then they take 2k more from the second Explode Rocket that you borrow start target to change defense.
And it's pretty absurd that this is all off of a single, well, it's a 2-card combo, but you just need one of the main starters of the deck plus any card for discard at that point. So it's pretty ridiculous. And let's go ahead now and get into the list here, just so people can see the 60-card conglomerate that you guys have come up with. So first, I think people are going to ask, this is a combo deck, it's an FTK, why are you playing 60 cards instead of 40?
So the reason it's 60 cards is that basically all the Dragon Extenders do the same thing. They just put themselves on the field, or they put 2 cards on the field. They're all either like they replace themselves or they become a +1. So it doesn't actually matter which combination of dragons you draw, as long as you can put 2 dragons on the field. So you want to reduce the chance of drawing like the bricky cards. Like Pisco is just like a straight up brick. Explode Rocket isn't great to draw. Dragon Buster, the Rose Dragons, Darkworm aren't great to draw. Same with Boot Sector and Black Garden. It doesn't. The FTK is still absolutely possible if you draw them. It just you would rather see a lot of good cards rather than 4 good cards and 1 bad card. And while we were testing hands and using a script and a code to figure out the percentages of how often it would FTK, even though we added more cards in, like we obviously started at 40 and then just increased from there. Every time we increased it, the percentage of the FTK didn't decrease enough to warrant even looking at 40 cards again. Because you need to make hand traps as well for the rock deck, obviously. You can't beat that going second very often unless you draw a hand trap.
Sure, and then that also plays into the fact, too, with the number of hand traps that you ended up settling on as well, because since you're playing a combo deck, you want to have as many combo pieces as possible, but with a deck like this specifically, one of the things that I've noticed is that you have to play a very heavily dense engine to be able to facilitate the FTK, which means it's very difficult for you to play 40 cards or around that number even. And so that makes a lot of sense. So then why did you decide to end up on this particular lineup of hand traps here? It looks like we just have the 2 Valor, 3 Ash, 3 Nibiru, and the 3 Phantasme.
Phantasme is very strong because it's basically half a Hieromodus if you special summon it, and considering the amount of breaks that you play in the main deck, it's most of the time Pot of Greed because it's putting a dead card back and drawing 2. And then you play the hand traps that work with Phantasme, so the 3 Ash, the 3 Nib, and the 2 Valor. It was 3 Valor before we had to cut it to accommodate some stuff. The idea behind Ash is that Ash actually overlaps with the control matchups, because you gotta set a lot of cards out against control. So if you're not playing Ash, you couldn't if it was another combo hand trap like Token Collector or something, you'd have to side that out as well. And just Valor and Nibiru because they're probably the best ones that can be drawn with by Phantasme.
It's also relevant that Nibiru and Valor are lights, so you can discard them for Chaos Space, and Ash and Valor are tuners, so you can normal summon them with a Dragon Shrine to do the full combo.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the rest of the main deck lineup here. So we got 3 Cypher, 3 Black Metal Dragon, 3 Noctivision Dragon, pretty cool card. We got the 1 Brick being the Asala Piscu. We got the 3 Tracer, the 2 Explode Rocket Dragon for the FTK, of course, 1 Rocket Synchron and Absor Router Dragon, Chaos Dragon Levianeer, Red Ice Dark Dismetal, Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, and White Dragon Wyver Burster, the Brotar, the Red Rose Dragon, the White Rose Dragon, Phalanx, the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword for the lock, and a copy of Darkworm. So go ahead and walk me through the main deck, why you chose these specific ratios. I think a lot of people who are familiar with the deck may know, but for those who don't.
So most of the cards, like Red Rose, White Rose, those are engine requirements for the combo. Brotar as well. Darkworm is so we actually have more value of Shrines and Foolish if we already have Tracer or Drew Obster Router, or if you draw more Shrine and Foolish, for example. I think one of the different cards here is Rocket Synchron. Most people will usually play another Tracer target. They play a level 4 to make Savage. We couldn't fit Savage into the extra deck. Rocket Synchron has some advantages, like being a tuner. So if you have the Nibiru and you have Boot Sector for Rocket Synchron and Rocket Tracer, that's full combo. It also helps that sometimes getting to Garden Rose Maiden is the awkward part of this combo because you already use Link Cross to make Herald, and then you need to get to a level 4 tuner in Bro Tower. But if you have Rocket Synchron, you can a lot of the times just make it with a Chaos Dragon. So it helps fix some awkward hands. And Noctovision, which is the other non-standard monster, it's basically an extender that replaces itself, and there are so many good cards to join this deck. From the point you're using Noctovision, you have Shrine, World Legacy Guard Dragon, Quick Launch, Chaos Space, Called by, Reborn. All of those are power cards. And even if you draw that card, just basically a 1-for-1 extender.
It's looks like random one-offs. You would think an FTK deck doesn't need Dragon Buster or Levianeer. Why do you need that Looper card? But it comes up as a backup plan a lot of the time and going second. So when you're playing into a rock board, if you've hand trapped them once, or if they've ended on a weaker board than usual, it came up in a lot of my feature matches where you can summon a Levianeer, clear a couple cards, and you can, if you equip Dragon Buster to anything, they basically can't play the game anymore. Even just equipping Dragon Buster to Red Eyes is 3,800. They can't kill it with anything. So it wins a lot of games.
That's what's pretty frightening about this deck, too, is that even if it doesn't FTK, you've got a pretty solid contingency plan against a pretty wide spread of the meta. So that's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and just cover the spells then quickly. We got Divine Lance, Ravine, Chaos Space. I want to talk about that a little bit. 3 Guard Dragon, 3 Quick Launch, 1 copy of Boot Sector Launch, 3 Call by the Grave, 3 Shrine of Foolish Burial, 1-for-1 Monster Reborn, and Black Garden. So, Chaos Space, new card out of Toon Chaos. A lot of people are looking forward to this. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, this card is absolutely insane. So, it doesn't matter which attribute you discard because you're always adding one of the Chaos Dragons. And so So then you summon the Chaos Dragon, you make Striker Dragon, you add the other Chaos Dragon and Boot Sector, and then you summon the second Chaos Dragon, and then you get to put back the Chaos Dragon that you banished. So like if you banish the black one for the white one, you just get to put back the black one on the bottom of your deck and draw a card, so you can't even dead draw it. And then when you link off the dragon, you get another search, so it's like a +2. It's absurdly good.
Yeah, it also allows you to combo without normal summoning, which is pretty relevant. And if you do Chaos Space just for a baby dragon and you draw a normal summon off it, even if like they Nibiru you didn't even commit your normal summon, so you can like draw Seafert or draw Black Metal Dragon and still have a lot of plays. It also searches for Levianeer on like going second scenarios, and it can recycle extra deck cards. So there was a game that like I used Levianeer to banish an extra deck card and then use Chaos Space to get it back, so I had more follow-up after like wasting everything.
So any other thoughts on the main deck here, or do we pretty much cover the majority of it?
I think people underestimate how good World Legacy Guard Dragon is, the spell. That's like by far the best extender in this deck. If you draw like Black Metal Dragon plus World Legacy Guard Dragon, you literally FTK through Nibiru. Like that's how good that card is.
You're forcing Nibiru before making Needle Fiber in this deck, because you get to a point you have Metal Marcher and a level 1 token in the combo. So most of the time you can Herald there if you have any extender. So people are basically forced to Nibiru you there. So if you have World Legacy Guard Dragon, you can just like summon the Phalanx back, make Needle Fiber, summon Red Rose, make LP move, and you suddenly have Guard Dragon arrows, and that's game.
That's so good. I love it. So let's go ahead and just cover the extra deck now quickly. Here we got the Martial Metal Marcher, Hail to the Arclight, Garden Rose Main for the Synchros, 2 Striker Dragon, the Pisty, the LP, the Linkross, Haliku Fibrax, the Union Carrier, Romulus, the Protector Whelp of Destruction Swordsman, Delindrous Dragon, Quad Boral Dragon, and Boral Sword Dragon. So, I mean, you obviously go through a pretty decent amount of these for the FTK itself, but some of them are just for utility. Any of the highlights here you want to discuss?
The 2 cards that aren't mandatory for the FTK are Quad Borrow and the Buster Link Shoe. But like Quad Borrow is pretty important because it allows you to play around Call by the Grave. Because if you pay attention, the FTK actually can lose to Call by, because they can just call by the second Explode Rocket, because you already have one in grave and you have one in the field. But if you have Quad Borrow, you can, instead of summoning the second Explode Rocket, you can just revive the one you already popped, so you don't lose to Call by the Grave or for an Ashen Tracer, which is pretty relevant. Like if you have a good hand, you don't want to like risk losing a dump game. And it also helps if you drew Explode Rocket and you had to use it mid combo. And it's also like insane going second, because you can pop like extra deck cards and revive your rockets. I think the only like cuttable card of this extra deck is the Whelp, the Buster Blader Link. But it's still like very important. It won Tristan one of his games that he wouldn't have won if he didn't play it. Could be Savage, but I think Whelp is a better card.
Yeah, like 13 of the 15 cards are absolutely mandatory. The last 2 you could argue that they could be like Savage or like an access code or something, but it seemed more valuable to us to have the utility of being able to FTK or combo through weird scenarios rather than having extra utility. Like these, I'd rather FTK more often than not be able to, because I didn't play these 2 cards.
Let's just go ahead and wrap it up with the side deck then. We got the triple Lancia, the third Veiler, and a Pancratops for the monsters, red Reboot, triple Imperm, and triple Evenly Matched for the traps, and then 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. What was the theory behind side decking? Why don't you go ahead and give some of the insights on for when you go into games 2 and 3?
So there's a lot of cards to side out when you're going into game 2 and 3, because like especially when you're going second, you don't want the Aslupiscu, the Exploder Rockets, the Black Garden. You basically want your deck to become like half side deck cards and half really good Dragon extenders. So being a 60 card deck, you have to side in a lot of cards in every matchup, otherwise you're just not going to see them. Especially against Rocks and Synchro Elves, you absolutely have to draw a side deck card, otherwise you just don't have a chance. So we side in Veiler, triple Lancia, triple Imperm, Pancratops, and even triple Evenly going against Rocks, just because any combination of the 2 gives you like a fighting chance. And then for back row decks, we've got like the good thing about Evenly as opposed to Storm or Twin is that it has overlap with Rocks and combo decks as well as the control decks. So you can side it in against both, because you only have 15 cards in your side deck, so you have to make the most of it and have as much overlap as you possibly can. Pancratops is the absolute best card for that. It goes in against every single deck.
Yeah, basically what Tristan said. It's very hard siding a 60 card deck. I think it's like the main downside from playing 60. So we had to like make some changes and play cards that aren't optimal. Like for example, I'd rather have Storm than Evenly against Synchro Eld, But considering the whole dynamic of the side deck, I think some of the choices make sense.
So then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that Red MD actually has its errata now in the TCG, which we found out that it was like a couple days before, maybe a day before LCS4 took place, but they ruled that that's going to not matter because obviously people put time into wanting to play it for this tournament. And so when it comes to this errata, some people might think, oh, well, if you hit this errata, it's going to matter. It really doesn't. And that's what's kind of cool about this.
Yeah, so like none of the combos, like the standard like 1 or 2 card combos, actually need the Red MD's effect a second time. The only time it ever comes up is like playing into a board where you need like multiple summons, like you summon it, like you search it and then summon it, uses effect, and then Pisty bring it back to do it again, so you have more summons for Boral Sword. Sometimes it can come up playing through like multiple weird hand traps, but for the vast majority of games, you just don't need you don't need this effect a second time at all.
How do you feel about the long-term impact that this deck may have moving forward? I mean, obviously we've been in Adamancipator Eldritch format for quite some time. Some other decks have been popping up in there. We've seen Striker, Solomon Great, Dinosaur, just some other decks trying to hold their own. But now this comes out. How do you guys feel about it moving forward for the next couple months?
I feel like dragons are very strong, even if you're not playing like this a specific FTK, just like dragons as an engine. So I think it's good that we're getting Chaos Base, which is another boost for it, so we can have like a different dynamic to the format. It's a combo deck that can play more hand traps than Adamancipator can, even though it's not as explosive as it. Well, like I guess you can call the FTK explosive, but like the other Rokket versions just like do not fair, but like fairer than Adamancipator board.
Sure.
But I think it's a very good contender for the new format.
Yeah, I mostly mirror those sentiments. Like it's really fun. I think that once people know about it, you just sort of adapt other decks to try and beat it. Like Adamancipator can't afford to just not play hand traps now because it can just straight up get FTK'd. Whereas before, Rocks were able to play through a board a lot of the time. Same for Synchro Eldritch. Same for like any rogue deck. It can't just like, especially like decks like Sky Striker where it could actually beat Adamancipator going second. It can't afford to do that anymore. It has to have hand traps.
Guys, thank you so much for spending your time and just going through this deck profile and this FTK combo. It was really nice of you guys to do that. Congratulations to both of you for your placing in the LCS. Like I said, I will have the links down in the description for all of your shoutouts that you had in the beginning. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this list. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.